Traffic sucks. In Halifax, we spend an average of 26 minutes every day sitting in it. It wastes time, it causes accidents, pollutes the air, damages roads, creates angry people. It's plain to see that this is a problem. But the answer? Well, that's anything but straightforward. Let's talk about the Integrated Mobility Plan.
I heard there's a brand new zoo in Thailand. So I hitchhiked on a private flight and got there man fast. I've greased every palm from A to Z. Hey, mister.
The Integrated Mobility, I'm just going to call it the IMP from now on. The IMP is a new approach to the issue of traffic, and like anything new, I'm going to have to give you a big serving of context first. If you look at a map of Halifax, you'll notice that there are really just 6 ways to get into the peninsula. Those aren't a lot of options, and the result? Traffic. During rush hour, those roads are lined with cars bumper to bumper. And the problem may be getting worse. In 2006, 75% of people in Halifax commuted with a car. In 2011, that number increased to 77%. And the neighborhoods that grew the most in the last 5 years? Yeah, all communities that will need to travel into Halifax via these 6 routes, which will of course mean more traffic. Our roads are feeling the heat. Now in the past, when roads were getting congested, the answer was to make room. Traffic on the roads, add an extra lane. Not enough parking, more parking spaces. 2 + 2 = 4 and dogs are better than cats. Plain and simple, right? Well, not really. First, we're talking about Halifax here. Of the 6 routes that lead into the city, 2 of those are bridges, and the rest of them are roads that have little to no chance of getting any wider. In fact, we tried widening Bayers Road once, which involved tearing down houses, and yeah, that didn't go over so well. But more importantly, it turns out building more lanes is actually a pretty crappy way of reducing traffic. In Los Angeles, a $1.3 billion expansion of the 405 highway brought a reduction in traffic for just 5 years before it came back worse than ever before. The technical term for this is induced demand, or Brace's paradox, but basically, building more roads to reduce traffic actually encourages more people to drive, which of course means more traffic. Now, isn't that ironic?
It's like adding leaves, getting more traffic, it's a costly ride.
So what do you do instead? Well, if you're thinking self-driving cars, flying cars, or Elon Musk's Hyperloop, this is for you. The idea behind the IMP is that we don't have to reinvent the wheel to fix traffic because we already have very efficient and less polluting ways of getting around. I'm talking about things like walking, cycling, and taking public transit. Take a look at this photo shoot from the city of Munster. It compares the space used by the same number of people driving cars, cycling, or taking the bus. So if we just have more people using other forms of transportation, we'll have a heck of a lot more room on our roads. Easy enough, right? Well, again, not really. The reality is that in a lot of places, it doesn't make sense to try an alternative to driving, and that is a design problem. Here's a quick example. It's really quite nice to walk down Spring Garden Road, but it doesn't feel that way at all out in Bayers Lake, and it's pretty clear why. Bayers Lake prioritizes car traffic by design. There's plenty of parking and wide roads with less traffic. A paradise for vehicles, but for pedestrians, not so much. But if you look at Spring Garden Road, you have stores, apartments, and offices all within walking distance of each other, as well as transit stops that can take you to other parts of the city. Its design makes it a lot easier to be a pedestrian. However, Spring Garden Road is in the minority. In most places, the design of our houses, stores, streets, heck, even restaurants often make it super convenient to get around in a car, but really difficult for anything else, really. So yeah, it turns out traffic is one hell of a complicated problem. So let's talk solutions. What's in this IMP? Well, first, the IMP proposes that Halifax adopt a complete streets policy, which is the idea that streets should be designed for all users regardless of age, ability, or mode of transportation. And that might mean shifting our priorities. Consider this. Take a look at the road network that we've designed with cars in mind. Here are the sidewalks. And then here are the bike lanes. Luckily for us, the IMP is proposing a core network of bike lanes that looks more like this. And if we made them separated bike lanes, well, yeah, that would be great. The IMP is also planning on adding more sidewalks in rural areas, because you shouldn't have to be in the city to go for a walk. Getting cars off the road means making the alternatives way more appealing. One example is transit. The IMP proposes that certain roads like Bayers and Roby can prioritize buses by giving them their own lane. Instead of getting stuck in traffic, they'll be able to zip by and stay on schedule. There's also talk about a commuter rail line that would be completely separated from traffic and connect communities like Bedford to the downtown. Yeah, that would be great. No, that would be amazing. Here in Halifax, we're used to transit being the slower option, but something like this could change that completely. I know it's not the sexiest name, but it's an important concept. Transportation demand management is about reducing traffic by changing the culture around it. For example, our roads aren't congested 100% of the time. Most of that happens during rush hour when people are heading to and from work. One TDM solution is to encourage businesses to have different work schedules so that not everyone is trying to cross the McDonald Bridge at 8 a.m. Other solutions that the IMP encourages includes carpooling, car share, and cheaper transit passes through Halifax's Smart Trip program. It's also important to note that part of TDM is to introduce policies that discourage car use as well. The IMP specifically mentions adding charges for on-street parking. Think of it as a carrot and stick solution. It might have taken us a long time to get here, but with the integrated mobility plan, we'll soon be able to get rid of traffic and we'll all live happily ever after, right? Well, not really. First off, traffic isn't just a road issue, it's a land use issue. Rather than having most of our growth happening in the outer regions and suburbs of the city, we need to encourage more people living downtown through policies such as the Center Plan. But on top of that, it's going to be an uphill battle to make these changes happen.
Come on!
Sensible solutions like bike lanes and bus lanes still require trade-offs to be made for vehicles, like relocating parking spaces or, removing a full lane of traffic. And if history is any indicator, it's going to be really difficult to get everyone on board. The few bike lanes we do have in Halifax were the result of hard-fought, multi-year discussions that included Supreme Court rulings sometimes. So the real challenge for the IMP is to implement change in a way that doesn't completely blow up in its face and force a regional council to hit the brakes on the plan altogether. And that's why the municipality is asking for your help. Come out to any of these upcoming engagement sessions to give your thoughts. It'll be a party, and they usually have cookies and some other snacks too. One final thought. It seems to me that the solution to traffic is thinking about it not as a problem, but as an opportunity. It means that a lot of people are frustrated about how they get around, and maybe, just maybe, they're willing to try something new.